Our administration was very gracious. We kind of suckered them in and said, come see what we're doing, and they bought it. So they let us do a 1 hour after school training with our whole team. And when I say whole team, I mean speech, OT, PT, 2 instructional aides, autism consultant, and classroom teacher. They all wanted to learn about, what is this core and how are we going to use it together. So we trained our staff. If you don't have that luxury to do after school, you've got PLC meetings anytime you can. But if your staff understands what they're doing, and know this is an expectation, they're going to be more willing to implement it. Therapists, we co-treat a lot. I can get, just last week I had a kiddo, the PT was trying to get him to lift his head up because he was slumped over in his wheelchair. So we were using the bubble gun. He would lift his head to hit the iPad to say, want more, and then she would get that, that work in the trunk, and I would get the communication, and we were rocking and rolling. As a therapist, I always push in at least a portion of my time so that I can go in and model, and Candace and I can kind of feed off of each other, and then it just kind of becomes contagious in the room. The staff sees that, and then when I leave, they're like, oh yeah, Philosophy said it this way. Set aside collaboration time with your therapist. I make sure that on Tuesdays, Candace knows during 4th period when her prep is, I'm going to plot myself next to her desk, and she's welcome to work on what she wants, but she's going to get an earful from me at the same time. We have that every single week on our calendar that we spend her prep. On Tuesdays is talking about communication, and most of the time the OT joins us, and sometimes the PT as well. And then be receptive and feedback from instructional aides. This one is important because they are your front line and hands-on with these students. So when we value their input, then we can help problem solve with them instead of dictating to them. And on the next slide, there's an example of this. We were teaching the concept, trying to teach one student the concept of hot. And we've got this iPad, and we're trying to teach this language concept, and he's like, I walked in one day, and he's like, this is not working. I do not know what to do during the day to teach hot. And so above the student's desk, we just have a marker board, and we just jot down ideas. I was like, well, try these right here. And then some other people gave us some ideas, and it's just kind of a collective place where we could okay, how can we use this core word throughout the day? And you wipe it off, and you start over when you have the next problem. This right here, Candace took a step further, and it's a poster that she developed that's got your core word on top that they're working on that week. It's got a picture of the actual sign so that everybody in the room knows what the sign is in sign language. It's got the symbol stick from ULS that we're using. We try to use that same one so that we can all recognize it. And then down here, she's laminated it. We can use a dry erase board to come up with phrases, so we're using these words in conjunction, and then also brainstorm activities that we can pull core vocabulary into for this specific word for that week or however many weeks we work on that. And the thing about this is collective, and so anybody can write on it. So we're welcoming our instructional aides that we value your input. Hey, what do you think we could do to get this word played? They have some really good ideas.
And I will say, we share this with the high school. Like, I want to make sure we're using the same pictures, that they're going to be using the same sign, so it's a seamless transition for the kids.
This is another way that we kind of collaborated and made core an expectation. We call these the orange sheets. Please don't run out and trademark that, because I know it's a really creative name. When we had our hour after school training with Candace's team, we took her schedule that you saw earlier, and we took every single line, every single activity, and put it on a separate piece of paper. And so when we got to that activity, we as a team brainstormed all the ways that we could pull these core words into that time during the day. And this was daily living skills, so doing laundry, there's things on there. Can you read that? Like hot on, cold on, you can use off with all those, more help wash. But you can see it's just in a little clear paper protector, and so it can be pulled out, it can be written on, put back in there, and they're actually taped in the room where that activity will occur. So by using the whole team all the different disciplines. We got different ideas. The OT was able to tell us things that like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. You know, I don't know much about buttoning as a speech therapist. So she's able, you know, well, when they're doing this, we can use this word. And now she comes to me and says, Kimberly, do you want me to take some data while we are working on buttoning? I'm like, yeah, I do. But by getting everybody's viewpoint, you can think of words and ways of pull communication in that you wouldn't have before. So that's.
If you ever end up at Avon Middle School North and you see these orange sheets around our building, because I've literally put them all over our building.
Lockers, there's a gym, yeah.
You know why.
And no,
They're
you can't take
everywhere.
them down.
No, you can't steal them.
I alluded to tracking data. We make our data tracking very friendly by keeping consistent forms, making sure that the data for each student is accessible with each activity. Each kiddo in her class has a clipboard, and it's a different color because she loves to color code things. But we have their data sheet for the whole semester. I run enough of them, put them on the clipboard, and for example, you know, when it's Dee's turn, with Dee's doing something that's really cool, and we think, oh, we can record that data, we know to grab the red clipboard, and we've got it. So we're not planning the activities around the data, we're taking data in that teachable moment. So it may be that we get a couple data points when it's snack, but then in the afternoon, when, you know, we're doing math, that, oh, well, you know, we can pull that in as well. That helps with carryover, because it's not just me collecting data on every Tuesday from 10 to 11:30. When you rotate your staff, you're making sure that everybody's included, that they're knowledgeable, and that they're accountable. It can't be, oh, this is a speech thing, or this is a, you know, a PT thing. Communication doesn't stop. And then we also make sure we track different activities throughout the day. I'll agree, it's the easiest to always start with snack, because so many of our students are motivated by food, but it's not the only place you can communicate. This is just a sample of a rotation that we do. You can see that there's Candace, and then she's got 2 assistants, Ed and Stephanie, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm in there. And just by using Candace and her 2 staff members, they can collect data on communication at least 3 times a week for all their students. This is the data sheet. You actually have it in the back of your packet there. I actually list out the core words that my student, that particular student is working on. And then each box gets a plus or minus. This is 1 day. And we'll do 5 days on a sheet. Like I said, I'll copy, what do we have, 18 weeks in a semester, put it on the clipboard, and so they're ready to go. Also, by doing this, Candace has several peer helpers that come into her class, and because we're using CORE so incessantly, they are picking up on these things. I have peers collecting data for me now. I'm training them on, this is how you interact with the student when you're playing this game or when you're doing this activity, and they're tracking data for me. You may do it digitally, and that's great. That would be wonderful, but we were just talking that would probably send her assistants over the edge. Baby steps. So mine are still on paper, but there's a sample in the back if you want to look at that. You also have in your packet a sample of when we do a whole group lesson at the high school. You'll see there's a sheet that's got about 10 different names on it. When we do a whole group lesson at the high school and we're focusing on a word, we'll have one of the peer tutors hold the clipboard with everybody's name on it. And if we're focusing on the word play that day, every time we hear it, I'll yell, that's a plus for Tyler, that's a minus for Jenny, and that peer tutor just collects data the whole time we're kind of rotating and moving throughout the room. This right here is a video that I sent to the high school to say, hey, can we kind of do this like we do in Candace's room? This is students, it is snack time. They all have their devices. There's Candace and another aide at the table, and you'll kind of see that she's a data tracking rock star.
Okay, good.
So you can see she has 3 clipboards in front of her, and she's multitasking, and it's a big circuit lab. And then Stephanie's got another clipboard in front of her, and then Ed is in the corner with another student one-on-one. So we're tracking data on 5 students at one time for communication, and I was completely hands-off as a therapist.
I didn't start doing 3 at a time. This has been like a 2-year process.
Are you tracking when they say the word?
And if
Or
it's
you
correct,
say-
and if it's correct, then if they're, yeah.
Okay.
And
Like, if we go back to that data sheet, some of them we're trying to get sentences, so they might get a plus for I and then want, or, you know, if they're doing phrases help and please, they get, you know, a plus for both of those words. If they only make it halfway there, did they hit something that came out wrong, you know, that's not what they wanted, you know, that would be a minus on that line.
let me give you a little testimonial about the student that you saw in the video. When he came to my classroom before he got to us, he was
The one that requested to go to the bathroom.
yeah,
The
the
guy
guy who left to go to the bathroom. Gosh, he was a handful. He was tearing things up, destroying classrooms,
eating crayons,
chewing
pencils.
Yeah, he had a PEX board with a few words on it that he used consistently. So August, the first week of school, towards the end of the first week of school, called the boss and I said, hey, I'm giving Taylor an iPad with this on it. And she said, all right.
I get these random calls at the high school, and on days when I'm not there, she gets great.
And he now has 40 plus words and using sentences. The first day I gave it to him, he put 3 words together.
So again, this is a student who before was tearing up the classroom, and there's no way you would have sent him down to do math because he would have eaten the supplies in front of him. And we took a video, we didn't use it, but where she's teaching math as a whole group, and he is now with the high level group, with the kids that are verbal and the kids that are a little bit higher cognitively. But because it's kind of, that's one thing that we've noticed, if you're wondering how does this core vocabulary kind of fit into the state standards, it's increasing the communication for these students, and so it's motivating them to interact. And when they can interact, then they want that acceptance, and they can sit at the table, and they can come to these lessons and be a part of the lesson, and not just, you know, someone, you know, controlling them. They're using this communication instead of their behaviors to get attention, so they're not, you know, destroying their classroom and running around as much. We've seen that be the case with several students. We have one who is diabetic, and she would sit and she'd squeal, this really high-pitched squeal, and then she'd run across the room, and then she'd smell you. And we never did quite figure that out. I thought she was like, my perfume. But she